I did a video on John Fetterman and his whole, loving to condemn the Democrats and acting like they're supposedly as a party supporting looters and rioters and just people that are doing very unconstructive things. This guy Dan Masters wrote, "Well, I can see that you really like the destruction of America and are annoyed when someone with common sense speaks out against that destructive behavior. You're a good Democrat." What's really funny about this comment is that it kind of shows how delusional he is. The destruction of America did not start last week in Los Angeles. It actually has been going back for a few decades now. But if you want to talk about the destruction of America, it is, America's already destroyed. Look no further than the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of homeless people. Look at the people who are only one check away from being homeless, that work full-time jobs. Look at the seed that we get in infrastructure and all the crumbled up, broken, damaged roads that you're driving on. You get a flat tire because the city can't afford to get the streets fixed up. Look at the recession that we're getting ready to have from the unnecessary tariffs that are going to go on to these other countries. It's incredible how, when these things are not put on TV every day, when they're not posted on Fox or CNN or MSNBC, there is a very sizable amount of Americans who just put their fingers in their ears and are able to go on in their mundane existence. And only when there's a specific incident that the media decides to blow up do they suddenly find themselves ready to call this destructive and, oh my God, we need to fix this. Because look at all the years of Chicago being the murder capital in America, people getting shot up every day in that city. And you don't see Dan Masters saying that's part of the destruction of America. Look at the fact that we've talked about over 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and the majority of us can't afford a $1,000 emergency. You don't see Dan Masters calling that the destruction of America. The United States is basically, it's like if you were a doctor and you were trying to put back broken bones with tape. The only reason that there's not more rioting and just mass expressions of frustration is that at least a majority of people have a means of living somewhere, of affording, being able to get something to eat with the various social programs that we have. But one of the reasons that you've had such a sharp way of resistance to Trump's immigration policy is because a lot of people, for the first time in their lifetimes, are seeing national politics negatively impact them, right? The idea of your mother or your sister or your cousin getting deported, right before your very eyes after they've been here for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It's not confusing that that's another part of the destruction of America, a failed immigration policy that, whether the Democrats have full control of Congress or the Republicans have full control of Congress, is going to stay failed, broken, and unfixed, because as politicians, they benefit from these issues perpetually existing and being able to, let's just call it what it is, outrage farm off of the frustration of the average voter. Oh, you're upset that your job is going to fire you for because they're not making the types of profits that they want to make. Oh, well, if you vote for me, then I'll make sure that you get some type of welfare for that. Oh, well, you just voted for me, but I don't have enough votes in the House, so you have to vote for these other Democrats too. Then for the Republicans, oh, you're upset that these illegal immigrants are taking your jobs. If you vote for us, we're going to kick them out. Well, you see, there's DACA and these other programs, and we could possibly have some direct way of making it clear cut as to who can stay and who can't. But that would mean we wouldn't be able to run on this every 2 to 6 years. It is a literal joke. The United States is a symptom. Actually, no, it's one of the biggest proponents of the rotten society. A bunch of broken laws, a bunch of things that really do not make any sense. How the hell in the richest country in the world are a majority of the people poor? Explain that to me. The destruction of America is when you work a 40-hour-a-week job and you can barely afford your rent or food or gas or insurance. The destruction of America is having to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars because you don't have insurance covered by your job, knowing that every other goddamn developed country in the world has that luxury, has the ability to just, hey, you live here, you're insured. The destruction of America is saying, hey, people should be able to go to college and not end up in debt for the next 10 or 20 years. And then some prick that went to school back when it was $1 for one class, 60, 70, 80 years old, gets to tell you that you're pushing socialism. The destruction of America is working full time and then having to team up with somebody just to afford living in a 1-bedroom apartment or just to have somewhere to stay. The destruction of America is going into the second largest city in the United States, seeing a bunch of beautiful buildings, people wearing suits and ties, and then you drive 2-3 blocks down and you see tents and encampments and people with their feet coming out of their shoe. The destruction of America is being told you need to leave the country that you're from originally when you criticize it, when the very goddamn prick sitting in the Oval Office right now got elected on talking trash about the policies of his own country, just as you are doing currently. The destruction of America. Like I said, man, every year, these problems just exist and exist and exist. And, people barely talk about them. They try to make it seem like it's the fault of the person going through it. And like I said, if in a non-rotten society, a majority of the people who lived in the richest country in the world would not be poor. Like if the United States was not destroyed, right? The whole paycheck to paycheck thing, that would be maybe 10, 20, 30% of people. The whole, people not having health insurance, that would be maybe a few dozen, few hundred. People going in debt from school, that would be a very small number, 10%, 20%. But instead, these numbers have skyrocketed. They've gone up and up and up. And it's just really sad that in a country with all of these issues, if you say you want, or basically if you criticize a Democrat for saying that his own party needs to condemn rioters when there isn't a single elected Democrat praising or supporting rioters and looters, you're told that you're for the destruction of America. Not the billionaires who crashed the banks in 2008 and got even richer and stuffed their pockets and got a nice bonus while everybody was getting kicked out of their house. Not the defense contractors that while people are burying their sons and daughters in these dumb wars, they get some more money from all these weapons that are getting used. You the person on the computer who has no power over the economy or the way people act or who has a job or how much things cost. You are the one that is causing or supporting the destruction of America because you said something that this guy didn't like. But like I said, the United States is already destroyed. The only reason people don't realize it or think the same thing is because they still can just scrape by a little bit. We don't have a majority just priced out of living anywhere. But it's a failed state. Income inequality goes up. The poor get poorer, the rich get richer, and unfortunately, a lot of the bastards that come and write the stuff that this guy wrote, they're not doing any better than me or anybody else, but they want to flex their muscles as if they're really standing for something. Look at all the rioting and looting and murdering that went on in Chicago year after year, the murder capital of America. I bet this guy didn't write one comment about it. But again, that goes back to my point of people, they get so hot over what's the thing that's on TV, what are people talking about the most right now? And then once that story is out of the news, they go right back to their mundane existence. Oh, well, I guess that's happening over there, but I'm not affected by it, so who cares? but I'm the one who's for the destruction of America, which is, I mean, hey, mission accomplished.